Welcome to Freedom Cast, where your hosts, Jordan and Miranda, show you how to get just a little bit more out of life. Are you ready to leave normal behind?
Hello, Freedom Casters. This is Miranda.
And Jordan.
And we, today, are going to be talking about something that we've got a lot of questions about recently, because Jordan has been talking about his book to everybody.
Like everybody. Everybody's asking me. I'm like, I don't know what my book's about. Don't ask me crap.
But a question that comes up a lot when we talk about the book is, how long did it take you to write the book? And wow, how did you finish writing a book? Because that's a pretty big, hefty-sized goal right there. So we wanted to talk about that this podcast, about when you set a big goal, like writing a book, how you can complete it. And we're going to be using Jordan as an example because he obviously just did this. And before we start, I want to apologize if you hear any sniffles, because we have a case of the sniffles.
We literally both do. The weather's changing, and we're both trying not to, spray snot everywhere, so.
That's disgusting.
The only reason I said that is because you love when I say things like that.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It's been about 90 degrees consistently in North Carolina since April, and now it's October. So it finally dipped down below, 60 for the first time?
You said, on what night this week is going to be, down in the 40s or something? 36, a low of, 36 or something?
Yeah.
On Saturday?
Sunday night, I think.
That's nightmarish.
Nightmarish. It's the quick switch. It got us both. So if we sound weird, that's why. Jordan,
I guess we normally sound weird, though, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
So maybe we actually sound really good right now.
Yeah, maybe we sound normal.
So we probably shouldn't have said all of that.
Nope.
Just in case. They're like, dang, they sound good today.
They sound great. Oh.
So, Jordan, how long did it take you to write this book?
That's a great question, Miranda, and I feel it's an interesting question, because when you ask, I feel like the normal answer is I've been working on this for years. That's the normal answer when you ask someone how long, a book. But it's not. I wrote this book in just about 3 weeks.
Which is pretty insane.
Yes. But it's been a long time coming. This book isn't my first book. I've had the privilege to write previous books. And my previous books have taken me longer than that. My first one, I don't even remember, The Action Diet. It didn't take me years, but it took me a little bit longer to get together and have everything ready to go. One of the biggest difficulties and struggles with putting a book out there is timeline and getting everything right and knowing when you need to finish certain things to be able to move it on. Well, Miranda and I set early on, it was basically, I think, June, when we were kind of figuring out that I would write a next book, or a new book, and we were figuring out when we were going to get it out there, and we said, let's get it out there by October, because we really want to just do this big task and get it out there. I have some flexibility. And I ended up spending a lot of nights writing it over at Barnes & Noble.
And one of the main reasons was because we decided that I'm going to be throwing a book launch party for this book. So I was like, well, we have to do it before Halloween.
Yes.
Because then you get into the crazy Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and then you hit the January depression. So we're like, well, let's get it done before then. So we kind of based the timeline around the party, which is, it's a little silly, but it definitely pushed you and made it so that you had to finish writing it in that amount of time, or we wouldn't have been able to have physical copies now for the real party.
Yeah, and that's where we're lucky that I've done books before, because just for me to be able to look ahead and say, I need to finish this by a certain date, I need to have it to my editor by a certain date, and then I'll probably get it back during a certain date. Just looking ahead, I kind of had to, I had to hit deadlines every step of the way for us to get physical copies of the book by the book launch party. And even with all of that, we got copies just about a week or two before the launch party. Now that's cutting it pretty close. Now there's certain things we could have done to make that a little faster. But yeah, it was a fun process. But yeah, Miranda's right. The reason we wrote it, the reason I was I wrote it so fast is because in order to do the launch party in October like we wanted to, I had to get it, ready to go.
And I think we were talking about this yesterday too. Jordan, you are definitely more of a intense focus kind of person. He was in his office working yesterday afternoon, and I
Oh yeah.
I was like, I want to see if I can like sneak in. So I got my big blanket. I snuck in. I laid down on the floor directly behind him. Started taking like a legitimate nap, and he didn't know I was there because
literally no clue.
No clue. So then I ended up like poking him in the side. But you have that intense focus, which I think really benefited you in this process. For me, I'm more of like I chug along with work, like I'm a consistent, like chug along sort of person, but you definitely have those intense bursts of focus. And so you would go to Barnes and Noble and you would just be 100% focused on writing for 2 or 3 hours. And I think that definitely helped you a lot. But why
are we sharing this with our podcast listeners?
Because what...
Oh, you were about to get there.
Yeah, you interrupted me.
Take it away.
But what did you do on those days when you didn't feel that you wanted to write? You weren't in the mood to write. How did you push yourself to do that? Because for you, if you don't feel like doing it, I feel like it's even harder. Because if you're not in the mood to be 100% focused, you're going to be distracted by a lot of things. So, like, what advice would you give for someone who's trying to accomplish a big goal, but then they just don't feel like working on it? Which, I mean, a lot of people, that happens a lot. You get burnt out with it.
I think for me, in this case, it was a special case because things had to be done by a certain time frame. And I think that's one of the most important keys is, especially when you don't feel like doing something, if you have a deadline and a time frame that you've set for yourself for whatever reason, you're going to do whatever you can do to hit that deadline. You're not going to I was not going to let the lack of books for my book launch party be because I wasn't finished writing the book. And I think you can apply that to pretty much any goal. And because we're talking about goals here, that's what this really is about. But you can apply that to any goal. If you're going to set a deadline for your goals, you're going to be much more apt to finish out those goals than if you just say, I'm going to finish that in the next year. Well, in 11 months, you may not have that finished. And you may just be like, kind of chasing it down at the very end. And for some people that works. I like to procrastinate on certain things. But if we set deadlines and if we say we're going to do things by a certain day, it just makes it that much easier to do it when you're not feeling like it. And Miranda's right. Like I am, and I've been working on that over the past year. I even discussed it a little bit in my book, just how I'm trying to be more steadfast. I'm trying to be more, it doesn't matter if I don't really feel like working on that right now. Like that's my job. That's what I need to do. But I am very much struggle with that. I struggle with, finishing out. And that's why I wrote the book. But that's why, that's what I've just had a history of struggling with, is finishing out things and doing things I don't necessarily feel like.
Yeah, I think that is really helpful. I was thinking of the example, like when we've talked about our Camp Gladiator workouts a lot. But
CG!
If our trainer was just like, okay, do as many push-ups as you can. And that's all you had. I mean, you would just start and you'd be like, well, I'm kind of tired, I'm going to stop. But if it was do as many push-ups as you can in the next 30 seconds, then you're pushing so much harder because you have that deadline and you have that pushing you. Otherwise, it's like, I have all the time in the world. I'm just going to, And, I mean, for me, I'm terrible at push-ups, so either way, it probably wouldn't be that many. But, yeah, it makes a big difference. And something else I want to ask you about is the planning, because I think that also is a big piece to being able to hit timelines and complete goals is having a plan. So what did you do for this book to plan it out and have it kind of ready so you knew what you had to do?
I love this question. I think it goes back to that initial planning. As far as like we were saying, hey, we're going to have a book launch party for this. Never done a book launch party before. Lots of details we weren't sure about. But obviously for a book launch party, you need a book. But I do think you can apply this to any goal. Again, with the scheduling out and planning in advance. But then also really just trying to break it down. And what do I need to do to, I need to do this by this date to have this ready. Like I had to have the book written in order to be edited. And I think a lot of goals are like that. You have to do a certain thing before you can do another thing. I need an example, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. But for this book specifically was the outlining process. So planning in the beginning and then doing a killer outline, making writing as much stuff down as I could that I was going to write about the book. And actually was exciting thing about this. Hey, we're 10 minutes in, so that's cool. I can talk about Trello now because we haven't talked about it for 10 minutes. Trello is a program Rand and I use as our to-do list on steroids, basically, is what I call it. But it's basically a task project management tool. And I used it to write the outline for my book versus just using a Word document like I've done before. And holy cow, it was fantastic. I'm going to use it from now on for outlines. I absolutely loved it, Miranda. I was geeking out and showing Miranda, I can move this stuff around. I can kind of, it basically let me see what my book was going to be about organization wise before the book was even written. And to me, that was so helpful. I could go in and look at my list of cards and then I could decide what I wanted to write about that day. And I wouldn't even necessarily have to be the next chapter. I could work in the, transitions and stuff later. That helped me more than anything finish out this goal. And I think it's huge. I think that planning stage, how am I going to lose weight? Well, you can make a Trello board on that and be I'm going to, here's my healthy eating recipes. Here is my fitness goals, fitness workouts. I mean, you can use Trello for anything, but I think Trello for a weight loss board would be fantastic. But I think any goal you could use it for. And
it doesn't have to be Trello. So if
it doesn't.
If you try Trello and it's not something that works for you or how your brain functions, then you just need to find what really works for you and just have it planned out. If it is a Word document, if that works, great for you. If you need, we're all about whiteboards as well. If you just need a big whiteboard on your wall with everything you need to accomplish, then that's great. It's just you need to find out what really works for you to organize it beforehand so you have that plan written out and you know what's happening.
Failing to plan is planning to fail.
Who said that?
I don't know. I should, though. Wasn't Gandalf.
Anonymous. Wasn't Gandalf. So can you tell us a little bit about the different facets of writing a book and why it is a lot harder than just writing the book? Because you are being self-published. It's definitely a different process from, having a publisher. You have to do a lot of the legwork with marketing and things like that on your own. So can you speak to that a little bit about all the different steps to writing a book that sometimes they're this isn't even related, but you have to do anyway.
Sure, and hopefully you guys find this interesting, and I'll try not to go on a long soliloquy about it, but basically marketing, you're doing that from the beginning.
I'm bored.
Oh, come on.
Just kidding.
Basically marketing, I had a board from the beginning that was a separate Trello board, a separate organization piece for marketing the book, because certain things had to fall into place for that as well. Marketing is an ongoing thing. Basically as soon as I get the title finalized, I'm marketing the book as well as I can. And that means a lot of different things. Marketing for a book. It's not just running to my neighbor and saying, "Hey, I have a book." It's making the book from the ground up sellable, I guess. That's not the right word there, but you want to make it appeal to people, and having the right title, having a good book cover, having a good book description, book sales copy, all of that stuff matters. That's super marketing right there. Everything I do to push people to the Amazon page after the book is out, it is all going to be much better and much more fruitful if I have good stuff from the ground up. And that's the most important marketing piece. That's what I focus on a lot with my clients with Archangel Ink, is making sure that the stuff is good from the beginning. Because I can run ads to the book's page, but if the book's page doesn't look good, if it doesn't entice people to buy, then we're just wasting money on those ads because no one's buying. So that's the most important marketing piece, and that I kind of focus on that from the beginning. But then it's the writing, and that starts with outlining. So basically I did the outline of the book in about a week or two, had that all ready to go. And my outline was kind of flowable. So I was working on that as I was writing the book. And I think that's key. That's what I've kind of found when I've been writing my books, is that the more you can have an outline that is working with you as you're writing the book, as opposed to basically just having an outline that's there and then you take exactly from the outline. because I think a book kind of builds itself and it writes itself as it goes, and that's why I love writing, because I think it can just kind of create the whole end product can be created like as you go. It starts to build upon itself, which is pretty exciting. I kind of geek out about that a little bit, but then there was the writing that for me, it took me about 3 to 4 weeks just about to write it, and the editing process was about another 3 to 4-ish weeks. Shout out to my amazing editor, Ashlyn, Miranda's sister. I love her editing. So awesome. So great. Let's see.
You pulled her out of retirement for this book.
I did pull her out of retirement. I sent her a nice little card and said, please, please, please edit my book. And she said, okay.
we were sitting here with fingers crossed, like, I hope she says yes. And she did.
Yep. The editing process is involved because as she was going through making edits, I was responding to comments and doing a lot of writing myself. And actually the editing process, I feel like it took me more hours and took me longer. There was one day I was at Barnes & Noble for 4 hours, and I think I got through maybe 3 or 4 chapters of her editing. I mean, that's accepting suggestions, but it's also going through and really just changing stuff. There were certain things where she was saying, this is coming across as really judgy. And I'm like, that is the absolute last thing I want to come across in my book. I don't want to come across as someone that's judging someone else. So that was like key for me to change all that stuff around and make sure the book was sounding like I wanted it to sound. And then, of course, catching a lot of mistakes too. Then once the book is edited and finalized, it goes to formatting. And then once all of the formatting and, book cover design is finished out, I have all my final files from Archangel Ink, have those all in a folder, and then I can start uploading them. And then I get the book. That's a very simplified process. I didn't want to bore you with the details, but that was kind of what I've been doing the past 3 or 4 months with this book.
But it's a lot of steps, and it's a lot of managing your time and making sure, okay, I have to get this off so it can get edited in time for us to get, this done and that done. And it's just it's a really good example of a big goal because there are so many steps to it. There's Scooter Boy.
Yeah, there he is.
There's this little kid that always riding around the parking lot with his scooter. It's one of those, what is it, like electronic?
Powered, motor scooter.
Motor scooter, yeah. He just looks awesome.
We definitely, we're not getting that right. There's something else for that.
Oh, for the
electric power motor scooter, yeah.
He's not scootering. The scooters itself.
No, this kid is not scootering.
No. But he just cruises around.
Me and my brother had like those little scooters growing up. We would take him to school and stuff.
Like,
I feel like the other kids
the
made fun of
razor
me.
scooter? Yeah, those I understand.
feel like I got made fun of by the other kids. Oh, I remember I wiped out one day, like hardcore, just like scootering back from school. Like I hit like a tiny little hole and I went like just completely, how do you wipe out on a scooter going like, I was probably going 5 miles an hour. Like I was not a fast scooterer.
And also, when you're scootering, like 50% of the time, like you have a foot on the ground.
Yes,
which makes it even more impressive.
I went hardcore, like I was crushed.
Yeah, but those
by the ground.
We had a scooter, but we didn't take it out on the road. We were just like,
Oh, okay.
We didn't take it very far, but yeah. So scooters. I'm completely lost now.
I will say one thing though. I like the word scootering.
Scootering, yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so big goals, Miranda. The book was a big goal.
How
else are we talking about this?
I'm so off track right now. I don't even know.
Are.
I'm just thinking about scooters.
Yeah.
Okay. So, big goals. Yeah. So, writing a book, it's a lot of different steps and it takes a lot of time management and, like we said before, a lot of discipline. So what habits did you have during the day? Because you wear different hats, you do a lot of different things. How did you, here he comes again. Yeah.
Miranda, stay on track. You were doing so good.
So what habits did you do to make sure you were getting done what you needed to get done?
I think just having a routine, and it's interesting to have a routine at that time because that was a lot. It was an exhaustive amount of writing, and I don't do that much writing every day. So I kind of had to work that in. I mean, there were several days where we would go to CG And then we would come back and be like, Miranda, I'm going. Like, I'm writing tonight, and I would be at Barnes & Noble until they closed, just finishing out the writing. And then, of course, during the editing process, too. I think the habits really were just trying to do it every day, trying to do a little bit of editing every day. That was one of the big things, because the writing was more, I wrote every day, but then there were pieces of, there were segments of time where I did spend 3 or 4 hours writing. But with the editing, it was even more involved. So I set a reminder on my board to do that every day. I would do some editing every day. I mean, I had to do that because I had to keep the document from not being able to load, so Ashlyn could go in and keep working on it. Because Google Docs, if you have too many comments up, it actually slows down pretty much no matter what you're on. So I needed to go through and accept those suggestions as she was going. So I just made it a daily habit to do that. I don't know if you wanted to know like what else as far as like habits I was doing. I think you saw the scooter kid again.
No, I was just thinking it's Tuesday at 12:30. Why isn't that kid in school?
I don't know. I don't know.
It like dawned on me that
I don't see him that often during the day.
No, that seems weird. He's skipping, man. We gotta find his parents.
Yeah, we gotta. If his parents are out there listening to this, get him in school.
Stay in school, kids.
We need non-distracted Miranda for these podcasts.
Yeah, we need to have no kids running around that I get distracted by. Yeah.
So other habits. We don't talk a lot about habits on this show. And I don't go into it a lot in my book. I think habit development is huge. But I also like to be more like flowable with my workday and stuff too. So I think it's very important to have habits. But also like the habits can get exhaustive too, I think.
Well,
and if you're just doing a habit for a habit's sake.
This is something that...
Oh, now you want to talk?
Yeah.
Did you see the scooter kid again?
I'm back on track.
Okay.
Now the wheels are turning.
Okay, good. I don't have to do the work for you there.
No, for me, I think it is personality-wise, though, because I very much love having habits. Like, my morning routine is very habitual.
You're very habit-driven, yeah.
Yeah, so I wake up and I'm a weirdo that when my alarm clock goes off, like, I never hit snooze. I'm just immediately, like, I just pop out of bed.
I think that you are a superhero. That's like your superpower.
That's my superpower.
I cannot do that.
I don't hit snooze. Yeah. And I just go into autopilot. And I don't even use my brain. Like my just habits take over and like before I know it, I'm eating breakfast. But then,
that's like, you can keep going with that. But a lot of the habit books I've read, that's huge. They say that's what you want. That's what the morning routine you want, where you don't have to think about what you're wearing. You don't have to think about what you're eating that day. Like, your morning routine is, like, you're doing a lot of stuff that sometimes it takes me a little bit too long to get going in the morning. Like, it's 10 o'clock, I still don't have pants on. I'm like, well, I need to get going here. But
no, it was 11:30 today before you had pants on. So, in the morning after I get, after I get my pants on and I eat breakfast, I read my Bible for a little bit, and then I go through this, like, tidying whirlwind where I have to put like all the pillows back and everything. Jordan, when he plays video games, he moves the television out like 5 feet.
No, I don't. Not when I play video games.
Oh, I guess
sometimes I leave the chair
when
there.
he's watching Survivor. When he's watching Survivor.
Oh yeah, that's true.
No, you do pretty good. It was just an example.
You do pretty good. Do better.
Do better. So then I just go and I tidy everything up, and then I start getting work done. And for me, habits like that are crucial. And I function very well when I have something like that. But I think for other personalities like you, it's better to have that freedom. You're like an entrepreneur. That's like your whole shtick. And you need to have that just freedom to be like, I'm going to do like what my heart wants to do today. And I think that's great. But it is, I think, different personalities, it works better, having those strict habits and strict routines in the morning or night or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think a huge part of that is first of all, not losing sleep out of all this, because I think some people will, to finish out big goals, they'll stay up really late or wake up really early. Now, I think either of those things are fine, but I mean, I talk about this in the book too. Like, sacrificing sleep is not is not something you want to do. Maybe in the short term, like if you want to like wake up really early the next day and get a big goal done, like that's okay. But in the long run, like sacrificing sleep is not really a good idea. I don't think. I think there are other entrepreneurs. You have something to say?
Yeah, I just feel like I'm going to say what you're going to say. A lot of people do. You're kind of, going against the grain with that, because a lot of people are, it's all about the hustle. It's all about, staying up till 2, waking up at 4. But I think what you're saying is a much healthier way to look at it, because it's not worth it if you're going to end up being completely sleep deprived and a terrible person to be around. And no one can function off of, little amounts of sleep for a long period of time. But you're right. If you need to do, there's a big thing, you got to get it done. That's fine, but just...
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. But don't make it a consistent... don't make your habit to be losing sleep. Because that's one of the key things to being a healthy person. If you get sick, then you're not going to get work done anyway. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I just don't think that's sustainable over the long run. I am all about, finishing out strong and putting aside other priorities to go right and finish your book or do whatever you need to do. And I think all of that stuff is good, because we're trying to do big things. We're trying to change the world. But in the long run, we can't be sacrificing sleep continually. It's the same thing. It's if you're going to do a new workout, how often do people peter out when they're doing a new workout? It's because maybe they're waking up at 5 to go to a workout before the next day. And waking up at 5 is great for some people. I cannot do it and I won't do it. But some people, that works great, working out at 5 and getting a workout in the morning. And I'm all for that, for those people. But if you're going to bed at midnight, that's consistently, you're working out in the morning, you're pushing your body, you're killing yourself for a really tough workout, and you're only getting 5 hours sleep. You're not letting your body recover from that workout. You're just shooting yourself in the foot, and you're not going to be able to keep going. Now, that's for I think, for most people. Now, there's some people that can survive off 4 or 5 hours or less, maybe, be able to do a workout and their body can recover. But I think for most people, that's just not the way it is. But I just get frustrated with that, because I think we're conditioned to think that we have to sacrifice those things in order to see our goals out. And that's really not. I mean, I think there's other things we can give up too, that maybe we should give up first before we're giving up sleep. I mean, we're not able to do our best work either. If I'm consistently not getting enough sleep, I'm not going to be able to put the best Jordan into the book either.
Yeah.
Or whatever else it is I'm trying to do.
And it's just having those priorities with not even just sleeping, but having restful time, having time for yourself, just taking a moment where you can just breathe during the day. It's, you would think that, you have 24 hours, you'd find the time to spend 10 seconds and just focus on breathing, or, sitting down and just soaking it all in for a minute. But in our society today, it's constantly, it's always input. It's always, getting those, what's the word I'm looking for? Sensory something.
Getting the really fast wins. That's not what you're trying to say.
Getting the fast wins.
That's not what you're trying to say.
It's just that
immediate gratification.
Yeah, and that's sensory overload. Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, and it's just constantly you're just taking stuff in, but you need to take that moment, and that's so important, because you're going to get burnt out otherwise. But that's what everybody sacrifices in today's culture, and we get caught up in that all the time. We're like, man, I just feel frazzled. We've just been running around doing, all good things. It's not like we're doing, bad things, but it's just too much. And it's just it's a high speed of life now. And it takes a lot of self-discipline to take a moment and to just let yourself be for just a few minutes. So I would definitely say that's a huge part to accomplishing goals too. It's not just about pushing hard, getting it done, hustle, hustle, hustle. You have to take time too to just relax and refresh.
Yeah, I think it's just finding that balance of everything. I think that's one of the major keys to finishing goals and finding momentum towards your goals, if you will. Again, hopefully you're not sick of us talking about momentum, but I think that's huge, because we can just lose that momentum so quickly if we're not in it for the long haul. And I think that's where I just see a lot of the advice out there not being the greatest as far as for the long haul. It's staying up till 2 or 3 it's not sustainable.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can't, if we're not going to be, I want to be an author. I want to be a writer. I want it to be sustainable. I want it to be something I can do for a while. And if I am staying up until 2 or 3 in the morning just to pump books out, I'm going to lose going to lose my sanity really quickly. And the quality is not going to be as great as it could be either. And I think for me, like, really just planning, me and Miranda talk about planning all the time. I think planning is huge. Just having a good plan in place. And then, because you can't really be working every day towards a goal you don't know what you're working towards. You got to have something that you're working towards, but then you can't be planning all the time either. You got to be taking action. Mm-hmm. We were just talking the other day about how we're kind of in the taking action, like, task phase in our, like, lives right now. But we talk about we enjoy, like, the dreaming phase as well. So after this book launches, we'll be back to where we can dream a little bit before we have to jump into task mode again. But
got to pick a dream and then chase after it after that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's huge. Pick a dream and chase after it. But then also be checking in too and make sure you still want that dream. And then make sure you're not getting exhausted in the process. I didn't know that this episode was going to turn out to be us talking about this, but I think that is just so important. Being in it for the long haul. It's so key, and we're just so passionate about that because I
hate seeing people that are super burnt out, even if you're chasing after. There are people who are burnt out and they're not chasing after their dreams, but there are people who do chase after their dreams and then get burnt out. And it's just, you hate to see that because then you can give up on a dream because of that. So it's important to, have a plan in place, to work hard. That's all really important parts of it. But like a huge facet of it as well is giving yourself the time to recoup and get back to it and take a rest. So, they're both, I would say, equally important.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the takeaway today, folks. And also scooters.
Yes. All right, well, I think that does it for this episode. If you want to check out Volcanic Momentum, that's my latest book. You can go to jmring.com/volcanic-momentum.
And it is live, folks. Like, it's out there.
It's live on Amazon. You can also just search for it on Amazon, too. You can search for the book title, or you can just search for my name. You'll see that book and the other ones I've written. Pick those up, too. But definitely pick up Volcanic Momentum. You can get the Kindle version. You can get the audiobook version, hardcover, or paperback. All 4 versions are live on Amazon. Get whichever one you prefer. But if you haven't tried out Audible, if you like listening to podcasts, you should probably try Audible. Audible is fantastic. Get my book on Audible. Get a free trial.
Yeah, we got a bunch of auditory people listening right now. So.
I'll even put a special link in the show notes for this where you can get a free trial on Audible. And then that's great. It's great for me. It's great for you.
It's great for everybody.
Yep.
So yeah, Volcanic Momentum. Awesome.
Yep, I love it. Just keep working towards your goals, friends, and just make sure
you... Stay sniffly.
Yeah, stay sniffly.
Welcome to Freedom Cast, where your hosts, Jordan and Miranda, show you how to get just a little bit more out of life. Are you ready to leave normal behind?